to have like a fresh Ziploc bag and just slide the whole can in.
Yeah.
This is going to be like a what are those things called that you hang in your car?
Air
like
fresheners?
Little cutouts. Oh, yeah.
Christmas
like
trees?
Yeah, like those Christmas. We're going to have like a fish tree. I don't
Yes.
know.
Fishmas tree.
Fishmas tree.
Have you ever had peel and eat shrimp at your house?
Yes.
You ever forget to take the trash bag out?
Brr, brr,
Yeah. That is one of the worst,
brr.
most offensive odors.
What we could do is we could take that tin of what's left and like hide it in a drawer in Ben's office.
Oh no, the
I
poor
told
guy.
you about the milk, right?
That was bad.
Poor Mike White. Were you here for that?
Yes.
I opened a container of milk and hid it behind his bookshelf and just left it there to the point that I forgot about it. And he was rearranging something one day and he bumped it and smelled it, and it was noxious.
Solid, I'm sure, at that point.
So I came into my office and the milk was on my desk. And I knew whenever he found it, I would expect something worse in return. You know what he showed me worse in return? Love.
Grace.
Yeah. And then I just felt bad. So he wins.
Like hot coals on your head.
Yes, indeed. Do you like practical jokes?
I'm not going to tell you. You have to find out.
Yes. Josh, do you like them?
Practical jokes?
Yeah.
Well, when I find baby dolls in my office,
Baby what?
baby dolls, like that creepy baby doll.
Oh, did you enjoy that?
No, it was terrifying. And
Oh,
then
that was not me.
Then I stuck it on Heather's couch, and she didn't like that either.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us
Hello.
for this special Cooking with Joe episode of the podcast.
Can I show? Can I?
Yeah, would you?
Hey guys, look what we got. If
You're
you listen to the last episode,
Look, it's still flopping.
there it is. Wait, and then this is number 2. Here you go. There it is.
I think your last one looked more like number 2.
Yours is drizzled with like mustard and hot
I
sauce.
have to cover
though.
it somehow. Joe, what are these again? Help us
Well, the
remember.
first one was a sardine with all sorts of Grey Poupon mustard. Pardon me. Do you have the Grey Poupon?
Now, guys, before so this part gets cut out normally for our online listeners. This is just for the YouTubes and Facebooks. So maybe we should actually wait until the intro of the show to actually react to the food.
I say if you didn't show up for the online version, you missed.
You get the bonus
The moment,
extra
yeah.
coverage.
Okay,
This is
all
the
right.
draw
Okay.
that pulls them over to our online content.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are kicking up our canned and pouch
We
seafood
can
game.
give our podcast listeners some, like, hey, if you haven't watched a YouTube or Facebook video yet, you maybe want to peep over there.
This is a good one.
We can have a
missing something.
contest, and they can win
So,
King Oscar sardines.
so Joe has graciously brought
You
these
had
in.
asked me if I like practical jokes a little bit earlier, didn't I?
Well, yes, I did. Josh and I just had lunch together. And,
You've got mustard and a jalapeno.
oh, yeah. I'm ready.
This
So,
one is
Which one are we eating first?
bear.
So I was going to say, though, real quick,
Oh,
Josh just ate almost 12 inches of a Pagamar sub, if you haven't had one of those.
Oh, they're very good.
That's like having 24 inches of a normal sub.
yeah.
So if items that Josh just consumed come back out, we're all in trouble.
We need to then start with the anchovy because the anchovy is actually, and the anchovy is just
Now I've
it's
had anchovies
milder.
before, so.
It's milder fishiness, but it's the saltiness of it will take the
Smack
fish
you in
away.
the
And
face.
the,
I
and the
forgot to
caper.
get an anchovy. Excuse me.
Okay.
De-
Okay. As he reaches into the tin of anchovies.
So I was actually telling Joe that I helped prepare an Italian dish at a beach vacation with my in-laws, and the only meat was anchovies, and it was actually really good, and it had capers in it too.
Yeah.
It
So
was very tasty.
how was it? How was it prepared? Did they put it on a salad or on greens?
No, it was on
greens.
It was
is a salad.
noodles. It was an Italian. Yeah.
with like noodles and olive oil
Yep,
and anchovies.
it was very good with
I bet-
capers, and it was very tasty.
There you go. the
So I
Cholula came out with the
I guess-
anchovy too.
You don't pick the bones out of the anchovy. You just
No,
eat
do you
them.
see all the little hairy things?
I
sticking
wondered
out?
what that
Yeah.
was. I was like,
Those are the anchovy. They have little tiny people that fillet them.
oh, little tiny people that fillet.
Don't be heightist.
All right, so the anchovy first.
I think so. Here we go.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't bite into it. The
Cheers.
whole thing's got to go
Here
down.
we go. Gentlemen.
Cheers.
Wait, brothers. Let's get the interns in here. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go, guys.
Anchovies
One,
down.
two, oppa.
I'm crunching into the microphone.
That's okay. Not bad.
Not bad, what?
No, very salty.
Very.
This other fish is huge. I'm terrified of this one.
Tail first. The whole thing's got to go in.
I don't
You
want
don't
to.
want to bite into it.
Wow, that
I don't
want
to burp for the next 5 hours. All right, I'm going to cleanse my palate with the apple.
Oh
See?
yeah. You guys need palate cleansers?
Each one of you has like a 1/8 of an apple. It's like a 75 cents worth of apple.
Yeah, that's right. On the cooking shows, this is where they're like, that's really good.
Yeah, I detect some hint of some smokiness.
Yeah, that's right.
And fish.
Fish, that's all I got. And if that was fishy, this is going to be.
Are we gonna go for the sardines? Remember, tail
huge,
first,
dude.
whole thing in.
Oh, tail first.
Dude, you
Why?
remember-
Yeah, you don't want like the tail on your lips.
You don't want to suck it in like spaghetti?
Do you guys remember Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs? Sardine Land? Remember that?
Sorry, brother.
No? Okay.
When I was your youth age, I had Lion King and Aladdin.
Wow. Well.
There were no meatballs. Yeah.
All right,
Oh, dude.
sardine,
All right,
here it
we
comes.
go. 1, 2, 3.
I actually like that better than the sardine.
Did you? That wasn't
Than the anchovy.
not bad, was it?
No, very
Was
good.
it because of your mustard?
No, even with less mustard, I liked the flavor.
There's kippers over there. I have no idea what they are.
What's a kipper?
I have no idea.
Is it
Josh.
another fish thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I bet it's like herring.
Yeah, that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
You got a little bit of sharp cheese to
That goes
clear
good
that
with the
up.
apple. Mm-hmm. They taste better when you're hunting.
And it's cold out.
Or you're hiking.
Yeah. And you're like really, really hungry and not forcing yourself to eat.
That's right. Yep. Yep. Well, thank you, brother. That was a nice
No,
experience.
Thank you for joining us, friends on Facebook and YouTube, for that.
Yeah, indeed. Joe and I today are sporting team black and gray
Yes, we are. Go Raiders.
in support. Is that their colors?
I think that's the silver.
They're
and
not
black.
even playing, guys.
They are
Sorry.
not playing.
Well, who is?
There's not even any country that
Cincinnati
has like
Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams.
I was even thinking.
Go
of-
Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I root for Matt Stafford.
All right. As soon as I finish my palate cleanser, we'll dive right in.
Like a Sprite right now, or would be really good, or a seltzer.
I have one. You want it?
I got water.
Okay. True or false?
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's Coke is the best Coke.
It is.
True.
There is.
Burger King's pretty good too, though.
Is it?
Not like McDonald's.
Is it the ones out of those machines where you get to choose like from 8
No.
different types of Cokes?
That's
Yeah.
your generic mixer
That's
stuff.
like Wendy's.
Yeah, I'm talking about McDonald's.
They put something special in there.
Must.
Heinz ketchup. I have heard the rumor that they put something special in the ketchup that goes to McDonald's.
You mean devil's blood?
Is that what it is?
They made a deal with
Ketchup.
them.
Yeah. All ketchup has devil's blood. That's why I stay away from it.
Oh, because you're extra holy. It would just if you mean like The Thing. Do you ever watch The Thing with Kurt Russell?
Nope.
No.
Oh, all right.
Is it a movie?
It is a
And
movie.
is it scary?
It's scary. It's like
Check
when
and
the
check.
when the alien blood like runs away from the heat. That's like
Okay.
I don't know. I had a mental picture in my head.
I remember
That's usually what mental pictures are.
coming out of the bedroom when I was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5.
Mm.
And my mom was watching, it's a movie where a guy turns into a werewolf.
The
Wait.
Howling.
That
American Werewolf in Paris. American Werewolf in London.
Oh, no.
You just named 3 off.
But
bang, 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 bang.
I saw him transform.
Yeah, that was American
Because
Werewolf in London.
I was sneaking down the hallway, and my mom didn't know I was there. And that was it.
It wrecked you
No more
forever.
scary movies. And then similarly, one time after church, we were all, I don't know why, we were sitting at the table watching an alien come out of an animal. I can't remember which.
Huh.
And it burst the animal open, and then it was
I
an
bet
alien.
that was aliens, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that scene from American Werewolf in London was like late 80s, but the practical effects in that were. See, I don't like to watch scary movies either. Like, I am way too emotionally invested in those.
yeah.
But I'm also fascinated about story.
Oh.
Like, back when Blockbuster was a thing. Like, you guys probably don't remember that. Like, you'd go to the movie store.
Yeah.
And
I had a video king in Troy.
Yeah, I'd spend all my time looking at thriller movies, horror movies, monster movies, and just like turning those around and looking at what the story was.
Oh, yeah,
Like, the story was compelling, but I wouldn't watch them.
Yeah, no. Josh, I know you want to talk about this all day, but I feel like we should dive right in.
Awesome.
So.
Let's do it.
How did you know that he wanted to do that?
Okay, you ready?
No.
Was that a no?
That was a no.
Okay.
Hold on, I got to get to more I need to get to.
Well, then let me just talk about
Okay.
what I brush my teeth with. Oh, good. You saved
Sardine
us. Here we
paste.
go. Yeah. Oh, gross. Nope, it's actually rye whiskey and
That cut the sardine taste right out.
and concrete sand. That's it.
I'm going to come up with a nickname for you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Here we go.
Whiskey brick.
I like it. Just to brush my teeth with. Okay, Pastor. Well, hey, thanks for coming in for this assessment. A lot of guys are just not willing to have their ministries evaluated like this. We're just really glad you're here.
Well, we've been struggling for a while, and I thought it was probably time to get an outsider's input.
Well, I'm glad you did. And why don't we just go ahead and get started? I see here you have about 50 people showing up Sunday mornings.
Yeah, we're a pretty small church, I guess. That's one of the reasons why I'm here.
Small with 50 people? I guess it could seem small, but let me ask you. Do you know where all those people are spiritually? And do you have a plan to teach them to obey everything that Christ commanded? I mean, how do you actually disciple 50 people with sermon prep and counseling and visiting the sick and bathrooms to clean and bulletins to print and your own family to look at or after? I mean, no offense, Pastor, but a 30-minute sermon once a week or every couple of times a month, that is not going to create the kind of disciples that Christ has called you to make.
Oh, now I'm feeling more overwhelmed than ever. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Discipling. Is there any hope for the overwhelmed pastor? On this episode of Rural Pastors Talk.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Rural Pastors Talk, a podcast highlighting the advancement of Christ's kingdom in rural places, just like the town you live in. The rural church is not the baby pool we splash around in before moving on to bigger opportunities. It's not the place we're confined until we can take off those training wheels, and it is not God's penalty box as a punishment for breaking the rules. No, Jesus died for his people. And as long as Christ's people live in rural places, a vibrant, healthy, multiplying presence of his church will be there too. Hello, my name is TJ Freeman. I am the lead pastor of Wellsboro Bible Church in reasonably temperate, gray and foggy, wintry mixing,
The eaves are
partly
dripping.
sunny. Yes, Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. The eaves are dripping.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and I'm joined by...
Hey, guys, I am Pastor Joe Wagner from God's May Fellowship Church in the same Wellsboro, Pennsylvania.
Hello, everyone. Joshua McLaren, pastoral assistant here at Wellsboro Bible Church.
What's going on, Josh?
Hello.
On this episode of Rural Pastors Talk, if we could travel anywhere in the world, where would we go? Helps for the disciple-making pastor, a.k.a. the goal of every Christian pastor. I'm going to review some balmy winter help for hurting hands, and then a quote that's clever from our friend. Come on.
Mark Dever.
Pregnant pause.
Sorry.
Piper doesn't rhyme with clever.
I used to think that Dever didn't rhyme with clever.
Oh, you were one of those?
Cleaver, Deaver.
Yeah, right.
Oh, boy.
Most people who say Deaver have issues with his theological positions. I've found that to be generally true.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's something about that.
I don't know. I think it's genetic.
Oh, my word.
There must be something wrong with you if you disagree with Mark
That's
Dever.
right. So, Joe, if you could go anywhere in the world,
Yes.
where would you go and why?
Cage diving for great white sharks off the coast of South Africa.
That's
Oh,
terrifying.
my.
Mm.
That's very specific.
It is. That's where I would like to go.
Wow. Would you be scared?
Terrified.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't. I would. Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Okay, would you rather do that or jump out of an airplane?
Cage diving with
Okay.
great white sharks.
Yeah. Well, that's
You
why
want to
it's
know
your
what my
favorite thing.
greatest fear, though, is? It is actually something coming up beneath me, eating me when I'm in the water.
Oh, really? Oh, I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Even like in like creeks and like at Big Falls. I was always terrified.
What would
that-
prompt you to want to go on this vacation then?
I'm fascinated by sharks. I dig sharks.
In horror movies.
And the shark horror movies.
There was one.
Actually, no, like just for
Sharknado.
everybody that like, yeah. I don't really like horror movies, but like tall tales and
Yeah.
big monster fish.
You're a Bigfoot guy.
This
Oh,
doesn't exist. I like stories.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? Where would you like to go?
It's funny. I'm the one that thought of that question, and I don't know.
You are good at these questions. No, don't tell me like you want to go to Madagascar to witness to.
No.
All right.
Now I feel bad that I don't. But actually, my favorite place in the world is Naples, Florida.
I was going to say I was going to guess somewhere in South Florida.
Yeah. I would like to see other places too. I would love to go to Europe. I've never been. I was actually talking. I was at our local Greek eatery yesterday. Scheduled an appointment with somebody for this morning, but my calendar was convinced it was for yesterday. So I was stuck there by myself.
Local people listen to this podcast, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Were you
not-
going to support the Greek restaurant?
I was supporting.
Let's hear it.
It's Greek. They make a great Greek omelet.
They-
I really like that Greek omelet.
The number 9 is the only option for me when
Yes,
I go there.
sir.
Is that the one with the meat, the gyro
Feta.
meat?
Well, yeah, it has
Feta
the
spinach.
gyro meat, feta cheese.
I got that last time.
Oh, it's so good. And then if you get the potatoes,
Rye
with it-
toast.
Oh, I hadn't tried that. I'll have to. But ask for onions and the potatoes, and it just ups the game. So that's actually what I ordered yesterday, that very thing. And I was sitting there talking to the Greek owner of the restaurant, and she was telling me.
I was going to ask her or him.
Well, they were both there.
Okay.
But she was doing most of the talking. So she came out and was telling me about Greece and about some of the Greek Orthodox church experience she had growing up. And she was telling me like, oh, well, here, on Crete, this happened and this. And it was just really cool. And I got thinking, I actually would think it'd be really neat to go over there and tour all of the different biblical cities that are there. And just, I'm sure there's tourist trappy type sites
I'm
to see.
sure that like Crete would be the Naples of Europe.
Probably. Yeah, I think it would be good.
Mm-hmm.
But to picture John spending time there, or to picture Titus, establishing the church there.
One of the things in that particular restaurant, when you see the crystal clear blue waters, and then just the geography of this, the rocks and the sand and the islands and the buildings and those white buildings, and to think of those early missionaries, just like what you were talking about, like churches being planted in those places. That's fascinating.
I think it would be really neat. And Katie and I love to travel, so we would like to go everywhere and see everything. But I would just, if I could just go to one place, Naples. And I actually had a chance to go visit Puerto Rico once for free because, long story, that doesn't matter. But we were there and we were missing Naples because Puerto Rico was really cool and really beautiful, and we stayed in a really nice place. But there's something about Naples that was just more magical and enjoyable. And that's wherever in the new heavens and the new earth, wherever Naples is where you can find me.
That's where your room is going to be.
Yeah, if you're not there, you're somewhere colder, we can Zoom.
Will there be Zoom in heaven?
Of course. Actually, no, I'm quite sure that is a result of the fall. So,
I would agree.
Josh, where would you live, just out of curiosity?
Scotland.
Scotland. Visit, I meant to say.
Yeah, I would love
They
to go.
eat things way worse than sardines there, by the way.
haggis. I would love to eat some haggis.
Would you?
Yes, I mean that is
cracker.
where my ancestors lived, and my wife has gotten to go, but I've never been able to go, so I would love to.
Joshua McLaren.
Yeah.
Stay on the road, watch the Moors.
The Moors.
From the movie that you were terrified by.
Oh,
That was a quote.
okay. I don't remember.
Keep to the road.
If you missed the...
That's your
Online
perfect. I was
portion.
setting you up for this segue.
Yes.
You almost whiffed.
I almost did, which I'm used to doing. So we had an opportunity to discuss horror movies earlier. And
Over our favorite snack.
yes, Joe brought us sardines
Yes.
and anchovies.
Yes.
If you didn't listen to the last episode, well, a couple episodes ago that we released, we talked about those. Joe used it as the stuff real pastors can use review. And then he thought, let's put our money where our mouth is.
That's right.
And he brought them for us. And you can see us eating them on Facebook.com/Joshua McLaren.
It's
Nope.
worth the click.
Real Pastors Talk.
Oh. And YouTube.com/Josh is awesome.
Real Pastors Talk.
Oh. Okay. Good. Well, hey, the topic for today
Yeah.
has nothing to do with anything that we've been talking about. It is this idea of discipling as a busy pastor and some of our perspective as pastors. So I want to make a confession. Several years ago, we were looking at the possibility of helping plant another church in our region. And in order to help get some financial resources for that, I went through an assessment process. And I was surprised to learn of a low score in certain areas on that assessment.
Oh, those are never fun.
I know. And what was happening is I felt like I was doing a lot of personal discipleship and personal evangelism because I was preaching and teaching a lot. And it was in my mind checking that box.
Right.
Like, you're doing these things because you're communicating God's word frequently in front of groups. But really, I was not totally fulfilling kind of that call that we have from Matthew 28 and other places to make disciples who not only are, converted, baptized, but then,
Just hanging out.
just chilling, me and Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
No, learning to obey everything Christ commanded. And that's a big deal. And the truth is, the average church member right now in America is attending church 2 to 3 times a month at max.
The sardines did not make me puke, but that makes me puke.
Yeah, right. Well, you keep turning your head, and I keep thinking, am I spraying sardine odors?
You got a
at
little bit. You got a little bit in your beard.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I'll go shower after this.
You should, okay.
There's no other escape from it. So, we are called to glorify God as Christians. Actually, all mankind is supposed to do that. Christians are redeemed to be able to do that. And then we glorify God by making disciples, by allowing Christ to build his church, but being a tool that he uses for that. He's given gifts to the church. That includes shepherds who are supposed to equip the saints for the work of ministry. As the church grows up and works together, the character of Christ, the love of Christ, all of those things are to be seen through
Unity.
a healthy church. Yeah, exactly. So the goal is more Jesus. Like, God wants Christ to be exalted around the whole planet and then the universe because of the angels and demons that are looking on as well. So we need to have more fully devoted followers of Christ, like genuine disciples who obey all that Christ commands so that they look like Jesus. So then that whole thing that they're part of called the church looks like Jesus. We have a role in that goes beyond just preaching. So let's talk about some ways disciples are made.
Right.
You got the Bubba Gump shrimp. You got your pulpit discipling. You got your one-on-one discipling. You got your small group, and what else?
I knew you were going to kick it over to me, and I had to catch up to where
That's okay.
The Bubba Gump kind of threw me off.
Sorry. You got your counseling.
You got your Sunday school in. You got your visitation in. You got your hunting trip discipling. You got your sardine eating together discipling.
That's right. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways that pastors can engage in discipleship. But the reality is that we need to think more carefully about what it means to have 30, 40, 50, a couple hundred people that have entrusted their souls to the care of that particular body of Christ, which is led by partly you as a pastor. So how can we as one man or a small team of men actually disciple an entire congregation of any size?
Make more disciples.
How do we do it, though?
You've got to identify the folks. I would say identify the low-hanging fruit. Identify the folks who are willing to be discipled and who are displaying gifts, who are able to disciple others. That's going to create in them kind of that vital part of the body where there's going to be some energy. And then spend your time there with them, whether one-to-one or in a group, to be able to prepare and equip them for discipleship. Like, you got to disciple them to equip them to be able to disciple. Like, this is the most amazing pyramid scheme ever devised.
Yeah. And I struggle when somebody says, like, Jesus had 12 disciples, so you should have your 12. And then within that, you should have like 3 who are especially close, and you should certainly have one who's going to betray you. Like, you know, like where does the thing end? You know, so I don't think
Regularly wash their feet.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily like that. Those numbers and that exact style, you know, are going to work because we have families, we have obligations. We're not traveling around proving that we are the Son of God who's about to die for the sins of the world. But we do have a good model in what Jesus did, in that he entrusted the truth that he knew and the lifestyle that he led to another group of people. That was not the mass crowds that were following, but that was this group of disciples who did take the gospel to the ends of the earth. Like, that's the gospel goes forth because Jesus then leaves, and they're freaked out. What are we going to do without him? And he said, the helper's going to come, so it's better that I go. The Holy Spirit descends, church blows up. Like, all these guys, these guys that Jesus has poured into all this time, plus a newbie who replaced Judas, they're going around actually carrying out the gospel in this way. And then they're pouring into guys who are pouring into guys. And church history reveals some of that pyramid that you're talking about that came as a result of that. So how do we then practically help lead our people in this kind of way where it's not just I show up on Sunday, I receive preaching, I go home. I go to a small group, so I'm really extra spiritual. I shared the gospel once last year, so I'm like, you know.
Are
really
you talking
feeling good
about like
myself.
a particular process that I or you have done before in the past?
Sure. You got one?
Well, kinda. Our church is a church right around in that range of 50 to 60, a little bit more, a little bit less, and for us, we had limited number of folks. But we knew that we had a strong elder group, and we've got strong folks spiritually there too. But we identified 4 or 5 different folks at a time that we believed were going to go into leadership, or we believed that they had that needed to be equipped, or that we just wanted to be able to see grow, and they were ready to grow. So we, as elders, brought them into our elder meeting, and it was about a 6-month program, give or take a little bit. And we had them watch us. Like the first part, like we would go through like our member care list, and we would begin with devotion. We would begin with prayer. And then these were not, what's the better word that I'm trying to think of for super secret?
Clandestine.
Like we weren't discussing anything that folks shouldn't have known. Like, but we had a care list, and we were praying for especially people who were sick or people who were in need, or even there were some spiritual sorts of needs. So we brought them in to see what we actually did as elders. Like we didn't just sit there and vote about what color to make the carpet and drapes and those sorts of things. So we modeled that for them, and we even brought them into that. And then we would have them, we'd often have them start with Gilbert's book, What is the Gospel? Or maybe Ortland's book, It's the Little Green One About the Gospel. Or maybe Albury's book, Why Bother with the Church? Or maybe even something as simple as one of the little tracts from the black, red, and white books that Gilbert had done. And so entrust them, okay, guys, you need to do a little bit of work here. You need to read these 2 chapters and then come back with an aha moment for us that you had written down. And we tailored each one of those books and those readings for areas what they really needed to know. And then when they came back in to share, they were more and more invested, and they had to be able to learn well enough to be able to teach. And then we would discuss, we would talk things around that way. And so that's generally how our discipleship pathway was set up. But then on top of that, you'd go back and have one-to-ones with them too, and check in with them and how that were going. That's what we implemented at our church. We had done, I think, 3 classes before COVID, and that was just the process and the framework that we had. We had a group of guys, we had a group of gals, and then we had like a co-ed group that had came in that were almost husbands and wives. And we had such feedback from that folks who had never experienced that sort of intentional discipleship from a group of elders, they said, we've grown more in the last 6 months than we ever had grown before. at all. And that was one way we were able to. I was almost going to say we were able to redeem our elders meeting. Our elders meetings were great anyway, but we were able to roll.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, we were able to roll some folks in there as well, especially in the beginnings of that elders meeting, which were way more spiritual in nature.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Would you like to know?
I was going to ask
anything?
you.
You were?
Yeah. I was, how have you done it before in the past for discipleship?
So kind of you to ask.
Yeah.
So we had a neat season recently where we did what was called MDI, Men's Discipleship Intensive, and I did pick 12.
Did you wear sandals?
I did not wear sandals. It was once a month.
Did you start wearing a white robe and a blue sash?
No, none of that. No. But the guys said I'm pretty fly for a rabbi. Just kidding.
Did they call you teacher?
Nope.
All right. Go
Did
ahead.
not
I'm
call me
sorry. I'm
teacher.
done.
That's okay. I like it. The point at hand, though, you know I like it because now the listeners feel bad for me. So I have the sympathy listen. So, no. So we had 12 guys. It ended up being like 10, maybe 9 by the time we were done. That was part of the reason I picked a few more than I thought. I think for me, 8 is the sweet spot of being able to actually know and invest in those guys. So we would meet and we went over. I've done this a couple different times. Recently, we went through the blue book called. Oh, it's gone. All I can think of is the green book, which is called Grounded in the Faith.
Keep talking, I'll find it.
I've talked about it on here before.
The Infinite Journey.
The Infinite Journey, yes. Or is it An Infinite Journey?
I think it's The Infinite Journey.
Okay. So it's a great follow-up if you've ever used Grounded in the Faith, which is by somebody. And then I'd like to blame COVID brain for not being able to remember things like this. I think it's just my lack of intelligence.
I would not say that.
I think it is. My capacity to retain information, once the memory is full, it just starts deleting old files. And then I put some new things in there. And then, the capacity decreases over time.
If you would have prepared a little bit.
That's true.
It is an infinite journey, by the way.
And?
An infinite journey.
Oh, Josh, you tried so hard. Now you have the sympathy listen. So,
that sounds like an 80s movie with like Martin Short.
What? The sympathy listen?
No, an Infinite Journey.
An Infinite Journey.
Everybody gets really small and they go inside somewhere. There you go. Ahead. I read all those things in the back of Blockbuster.
That's right, you did. So Andrew Davis wrote that, right, Josh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is it Ken Arisman for Grounded in the Faith?
Yes.
Okay. So my brain is back. And they are both useful books. Grounded in the Faith will give you a basic framework for, I wouldn't even call it as systematic theology, but it's like topics that you would typically find in systematic theology that you get a surface level understanding on. So you're grounded. You have the basics. And then An Infinite Journey is an attempt to systematize discipleship and sanctification in some ways that normally I would say that seems like a terrible idea to try to do. But he actually does a reasonable job walking through discipleship in a way that allows you to really evaluate your life and then take some steps forward. And we've even had an elder come out of that, going through that kind of stuff together.
Well, that's, as I was sitting here, I forgot to share probably one of the most rewarding things of what that discipleship pathway. It was also a leadership pipeline.
Okay.
So the one crew that we brought through, we had like 4 or 5 guys. And we were like, hey, we want to raise these guys up. We think so-and-so could be an elder. We think so-and-so may be an elder, but looking like a deacon. And those are sensitive too.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that wasn't a sensitive thing that we had to do to make sure. And I love what I had heard recently, because we adopted the same rule too. When we started that, and this is important, number 1 rule, you're not allowed to be offended.
Yeah.
Or if you do get angry or upset, then you're not going to storm out mad. You're here to learn and be transformed. And in order to do that, you're going to find sin in your life that you need to cut out.
Yeah. Oh, and what's 2 Timothy 3:16?
And that's what like discipleship is. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. 2 Timothy 3:16, 17 talk about the word being sufficient, but it's through things like reproof.
Right.
Correction.
Correction.
Yeah. And so that was something we said in our MDI is we need to develop relationships with each other strong enough that we can gently and lovingly speak into each other's lives in areas where maybe there's some struggles and challenges or blind spots we talked about a lot, you know.
I've just been noticing so much, and I don't have it at hand, but if you were to read from about Ephesians 4:10 on, I mean, we have just danced around all of those sorts of things and been to scripture-based, speaking the truth in love that you had just mentioned, growing people into maturity in Christ. We talked about equipping people, shepherds as gifts to the church. If you're going to start, and we're talking about processes and systems, if you're going to develop a process and system at your church, make sure that it's biblical. Take that Ephesians 4:10 and use, and then on, and there's so many passages in Scripture, but those are your goals.
Yeah.
Right? Your goal's not to end up with a dozen deacons at the end.
Yeah, you have no idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Our goal is to grow them into maturity so that they look more and more like Christ.
That's right.
And not look more and more like me, look more and more like Christ.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, we can be tempted to try to make them look more and more like us, but the goal is that Christ would be exalted. So, yeah, another way, so just real quick on the MDI, to foster some of that stuff, so we were meeting like 8 to maybe sometimes 11 at night, 8:30 to 11, somewhere in that range, which is a sacrifice.
It's a cost.
It is. And some guys had to get up really early. In fact, that's why we didn't do it early in the morning, because some guys had to get up so early. The rest of us were not going to get up at 4. But they were willing to make that sacrifice once a month. And then we would do some other things together, and then it would culminate with a backpacking trip. So we actually spent time together overnight and to see guys set up camp together and then stay up till 2 looking at the stars and shivering together because nobody had the right gear, you know. Those things allow you to consider biblical principles in our lives in light of them in a different way. So that was kind of neat. Another thing is I had the thought one day, if I'm going to make disciples, that means I'm supposed to teach people to do what I'm doing. That would include things like preaching, things like counseling, things like thinking through matters of discipline. So we started our church pastoral internship as a result of that thought of, you know, we really need to be making disciples in every aspect of this, including there should be other pastors presumably coming out of this ministry. Would the Lord see fit to do so? So, yeah. Or we just grab them and perpetually make them pastoral assistants, which is more useful for me. Something else, you kind of hit on it a little bit, but empowering leaders. You know, you talked about it like pick the low-hanging fruit, which I think you were describing as those people who are ready and willing. And
a lot of the times those folks are doing ministry already.
True. Yeah.
And to be able to equip them with a purpose and a goal of why they're doing it. You know, we might have ladies in our church who are just naturally inclined to be able to, they can gather volunteers like crazy. They can put on a fellowship dinner and in their sleep. And that's just a gift that they have. But to be able to feed into them, okay, I want you to be able to teach. You're doing this for the glory of God. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're a body and we're all gathered together. This is a fellowship, and fellowship is important. It's important for us to eat together and to pray together. So again, bringing that into the realm of the spiritual and the biblical and identifying that for them, giving them keystones and touchstones to be able to, like, yeah, I'm not just doing this because it's fun and I like it. I'm doing this for the Lord.
Yeah, that's right. With the intention of training somebody else to do it too.
Yeah, and finding somebody else to be able to do what they do and train them up.
Yeah, that's good. So a lot of our listeners, I think, will be struggling with the idea of feeling like they need to do everything or lots of things at the church because maybe they're a solo pastor. Maybe they're just somebody who feels like, you know, I've been paid to do these things, so I need to be the one doing them. And so rather than thinking of yourself as an equipper, you're thinking of yourself as a doer. I mean, that's a really easy thing. I remember struggling with this with praying with our ushers and greeters and stuff before service. I felt like it was my responsibility to be there to pray with them. But I had other groups and places I need to go and things, and I just remember it clicking, like I can disciple somebody to lead that little morning gathering and to pray together for the people coming, for the people serving, all that kind of stuff. and just realizing that, yeah, I'm a pastor here, but that doesn't mean I have to do everything and be everywhere. And that was really liberating for me, but also liberating for somebody else who the Lord would use in that capacity if I would just get out of the way and let them do it. Jonathan Lehman talks about, in membership specifically, the best way to help a soldier be a soldier is to give him a gun and tell him to go guard the bridge. Like, we need to be doing that with our church members. Is here's some responsibility. You're empowered to go do it. And it's not me that needs to do that. Same thing happens when people come to you and say, like, Pastor, my friend called and she had a lot of questions about God. Will you meet with her? And it's like, no, I'd be happy to meet with you if you have questions about her questions. But God has put you in her life, and you need to be empowered to walk with her through this. She's your friend. She came to you with the questions for a reason. So it's like, they're ready to trust Christ. Would you pray with them? Like, no, like, I don't want to rob you of that great joy of seeing someone come to Christ. So, yeah. What else do you want to say?
I'm going to circle back around.
Do it.
When we were talking about ministry leaders, deacons, greeters, I think it is so important for us to tell those folks one of their primary goals is to train somebody to do what they're doing.
That's right.
That covers, there's so much good that comes out of that. Number one, it's biblical. All right, we need to make disciples who make disciples. Right, so that empowers them. This is a primary goal to be able to do this. It also gives you an off ramp. All right, okay, so Bob, you are the greeter, and I want you to show Bill how to do this. Yeah. And then when you're done being a greeter, Bob, we're going to move you to someplace else where we really need you as you're continuing to grow.
Yeah. And you can ask Bob. So, Bob, you are the greeter. People see you. They come here. They see your face as the face of the church. That's awesome. What happens if you drop dead tomorrow?
Yeah.
And there's no legacy you've left of people who can be the next Bob.
And you know where that comes in really, really handy is in high ownership sorts of positions like piano player, organ player, sound tech. Something where people find their identity in doing those sorts of things, and there's lots of ownership. So when you challenge them to find their identity in being a disciple who feeds into and disciples others, it shakes them out of the whatever junk thoughts that they had before.
And what's more exciting, doing the thing or watching a person that you've empowered do the thing?
Definitely the second.
It really is, yeah. So we have that joy. So one other thing to think about is we've talked a lot in terms of what we can do as pastors to help equip disciple makers. But something else that I think we can do regularly is talk about the fact that discipleship is the responsibility of the whole church, not just leaders. So this should be grassroots. You should be talking to each other throughout the week in each other's homes, bouncing your issues and concerns and questions off from each other, processing them through Scripture. Like, that's just should be the normal life of the local church.
One of the most important things that you do as a church member is be invested in the spiritual growth of your fellow church members.
That's right. Yeah. And we need to beat that drum a lot. And we can accidentally kind of contradict that if we are the one who we're always preaching. Yeah. We're always leading the prayer meeting. We're always doing that. It's like it's up to the professional holy person instead of this, or counseling. Everybody goes to pastor.
And that, to put this in the rural context as well, and I've never preached it, and I've never led in an urban or suburban context, and I imagine it's similar, but oftentimes in a rural setting, people keep to themselves.
True.
And it's none of my business if their marriage is not good. Like, I have experienced that before. A long time, I was not in ministry, but I was in a church, and the pastor prayed openly for the couple's marriage, and it wasn't like it was a secret. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody knew that they were having some trouble, and he prayed. I think it was a Sunday morning from the pulpit, and there might have been 25 or 30 people there, and praying for so and so. And maybe it was a little inartful and indelicate, but it was like a bomb would have went off.
Yeah,
people were so mad. I can't believe it's none of our business.
Right.
What do you mean it's none of your business?
Yeah. We're members of one another.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't have a good understanding of what church membership was either, and they truly didn't necessarily. I'm talking not about the husband and wife, but the members of the body didn't quite grasp it because they hadn't been taught it.
Right. And that's something we need to be working on for the rest of our lives. And patient when it doesn't just happen, but steady in our work for. Josh,
Yes, sir.
if you were like the marshal of discipleship, how would you help fix the pain points in a church? You see what I did there?
No. Marshall,
Too clever for you.
Marshall Payne?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Well, you have a note in the notes of something of a resource you wanted to mention.
Oh, yeah. I gotcha. Anyway, yeah, we as a staff, when I first came on, were reading a book called Trellis and the Vine.
By
Marshall and Payne.
Oh, yes.
Darn. There are a couple of Australian brothers, I think, correct?
Yes.
From Australia. And basically they talk about this dichotomy that sometimes we do too much trellis work, which is programs and setting things up to where people have, I don't know, like an area to be discipled, or we do too much vine work and it's a huge conglomeration, confusion, and we're not, even though we're doing a lot of vine work being people work, discipleship work with people, there's no trellis to allow the vine to really grow and take off. So you need to have an even keel of both like programs as well as organic cultural discipleship to so their wisdom would be don't allow one to overgrow the other. You need to have a good balance of both.
Yeah, that's good. So, we could ask the question, is discipling a program or is it just an organic cultural thing? And really what
Yes.
Charles and Vine would argue is it's both.
Yeah.
And really a church staff has the responsibility of putting out a good trellis so that the vine can grow in a healthy way. There's some balance to be had there. If you have not read that book, that is your homework. Go read.
It's very good.
Charles
And it's not very long. It's like maybe 150 pages.
You could also read Mark Dever's little blue book, Discipling, which is even shorter and bluer.
And smaller.
Yeah-oh.
Are we in trouble?
I think so. I want to see if Trevor or Zeke, without looking, can tell us how to send out an SOS. What is it we want people to do?
Subscribe to the channel.
You got it. Subscribe. That's right. So that Joe becomes famous. And then secondly,
I'm
you
already
can
famous.
offer a review. Yes, so that Josh becomes famous. Yep. And then finally, you can share so that the interns become famous. So that's right. No,
So proud of you guys.
that was good. That was good. Do you know the mission statement of the church? Okay, there you go. That's your homework.
Something, Jesus.
When you get done
How
reading,
long is it?
it's not that long.
Okay.
I have it tattooed on the back of my eyelids, so.
I have seen it, and it is on your back, but not the back of your eyelids. Lower back. All right. So no, it helps. Somebody has written in recently, and we have not addressed it yet, but I want that someone to know we will address their Facebook question on the air.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about that? Oh, yeah, the email address. If you'd like to reach out to us, where do they go, Josh?
realpastorstalk@gmail.com. realpastorstalk@gmail.com.
Thank you, and we really do appreciate it. And now we're moving to stuff.
Real
Pastors.
can use.
Reviews. And I am up to bat this time. It is my turn. And I do not have an edible product like you do. I have a balmy,
It's the second time I've used that word.
creamy.
Balmy and creamy.
I used balmy in the intro, right?
Yeah, but you pronounced it a little bit different than this
Balmy?
time. You kind of went with a balmy.
Balmy. So, yeah. Well, it's winter, and I don't know about you, but I don't think I need to say anything else because we all know that it is the cold, gray, treacherous time of year that has kept citizens of Narnia from experiencing the best
Always winter, never
life
Christmas.
has to offer. That's right.
We're reading that to Willow in the evening.
Well
so
nice.
It's fresh on my mind.
That was well done.
She totally has no idea what it means, but it's good practice, I guess. I don't know.
Josh, if I were standing by a street lamp in a snowy forest and you hopped along,
With goat legs.
I would follow you home.
Oh my gosh. I don't
just
know what to
saying.
do with that. What do I do with that?
All right, Turkish Delight next
There you go. Yes.
next Thursday.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun. So, why does that metaphor make so much sense in the Chronicles of Narnia? Because
Always
winter,
never Christmas.
yeah, it's hard, and it just I escaped winter for several winters, and that was a blessing from the Lord. And then He brought me back here to smash my idols. So, but this winter season is used as a metaphor for human decline, like he's in the winter of his life. That's when you die.
Right.
So we're in that part of winter that just drags on from February to the end of March here in our area. And I've decided that I am not going to complain anymore about one of the greatest winter ailments. I'm going to do something about it. You know what it is?
What?
Bloody Knuckles. Not the game with the quarters. You play that as a kid? Bloody Knuckles?
Well, I thought that was like on the school bus.
But never actually to get bloody, though.
Wasn't it where you fling the quarter into each other's
Absolutely.
knuckles?
Could be.
Did you just punch each other's knuckles real hard?
I think.
We did that, too.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. So I don't need anybody to fling a quarter or punch me. My knuckles just bleed in the wintertime because of the dry air.
You're such a delicate flower.
It doesn't happen to you?
No.
Wow.
I have never used chapstick my entire life.
What?
I'm also not a chapsticker.
Never. I have never used chapstick my entire life. My girls come up to me like, Dad, do you have any chapstick? No.
No, my lips are supple.
You snot.
My lips are supple.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I just derailed everything right there. I'm so sorry.
You did. My wife, every day with the lip gloss, which looks nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Right.
Not the same lip gloss.
Well, that's good. So anyway, back to me.
Yeah.
There is a solution aside from moving to Florida for your dry, cracked knuckles, and it is. See if I can get up into the thing. It is O'Keefe's Working Hand Cream
Nice.
for extremely dry, cracked hands, and it says right on the side, guaranteed relief. I'm going to tell you what. I have put this on by the second time I put it on.
Really?
That's impressive.
Look at them.
They're beautiful knuckles.
Thank you. They're not as meaty as yours. I think you'd win in a match of bloody knuckles. They're smaller and more sensitive. But they are not bleeding right now, which I really appreciate. This stuff, it's in an unassuming can. It kind of looks like a Ninja Turtle met car wax. Like
That.
just
Well done.
thanks. And I read online that it has a cult following. So I ordered
Like what kind of a cult?
the lotion cult.
Oh.
Yeah. Right. The lotionites. And so I ordered it from Amazon. I wasn't real convinced that it was going to work.
Yeah.
Because it had something in it I wasn't sure about. Isopropanol.
Polyolipropylene?
Nope, isopropanol, which I thought sounds like it might be an alcohol, which would dry out your hands, which is the problem with most lotions and moisturizers. But I looked it up, and it is not. It is, in fact, a preservative.
Oh.
Typically used to treat lumber, but also hands. So it doesn't have anything that will dry out your hands and stuff like a lot of other lotions. I used to have this hemp lotion that worked really well, but then I failed a drug test. No, just kidding. But this stuff, this works better. It's not thick and greasy like the hemp stuff I used to use was, and it just makes my hands feel good. So when I shake hands with others on Sunday, they're like, oh, those are some nice soft pastor hands.
I was going to say, instead of investing in the, what's it called?
O'Keefe's.
O'Keefe's.
Yeah.
There is plenty of olive oil left over from that sardine can.
Ooh.
You can rub that on your knuckles.
Yes, that would not make some friends. So I recommend it, guys. It's worth a shot if you live in a colder climate, or if you just like soft hands. Our former associate pastor,
Yes.
one of the reasons he re-entered the workforce, he did not like having soft pastor hands. He wanted burly man hands back.
He's a tough dude.
He's got his burly man hands back. Yeah. So he also rides around in a truck a lot, so he also got his burly man belly back. It was gone when he first started climbing trees. Skinny as a rail. But now
he's like the boss.
he has tacos on the road.
Oh.
One taco too many, Mike.
My problem, too.
I should stop talking before I devolve into sin. I have a quote, though. Clever Dever. Or Cleaver Deaver. Just doesn't sound right. He said, the motive for discipling others begins in the love of God and nothing less. He has loved us in Christ, and so we love him. And we do this in part by loving those he has placed around us. That's from his little blue book, Discipling, which I commend. And with that, anything else? We out.
Raise your Ebenezer.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Rural Pastor Talk.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know.
Let's try that again. That's not
That's
right.
the wrong music.
Here we go.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Rural Pastor Talk podcast, highlighting the advancement of Christ's kingdom in rural places just like the town you live in. Josh, if people would like to reach out to us, where can they go?
RealPastorsTalk@gmail.com. That's RealPastorsTalk@gmail.com.
Goodbye. I wanted to get done before you had to play it a second time, which you did anyway.
It always plays the
Needlessly.
second time.
Really?
No, it always, because our outro was way too long always.
I thought you double-clicked it every time.
No.
Just
Nope.
to show us grace.
I edited.
Okay, well, we'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Later.
The more I talk, the more I ruin my testimony. That's what I've concluded. There's a proverb about that.
Probably a couple.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of which, have you read the proverb of the day lately?
Is it the one about the dripping faucet or the eave?
Oh,
Like
that
a
was good.
A nagging wife.
You mentioned the eaves were dripping earlier. Yeah, but no, I don't remember that.
What is
being
the-
in this one. I'm just saying, generally, have you ever tried that practice of?
You know, I have not.
Yeah, I like it.
Proverbs is the depths and riches of Proverbs is unplumbed. I have no idea what's going on over there.
The interns and pastoral assistant are giggling like schoolgirls. Josh
Are
is,
they giggling it up?
Josh is crying. Are you going to let us in on it?
So, I'm 7 minutes late to a Zoom meeting.
Oh, no.
So I thought I would join using Trevor's phone, and I don't think my mic was muted. So the end of the podcast is in my church history.
For how long? Oh, no.
So then Clifford Deeper came out.
Oh, no. Wow.
Before I joined, I thought I muted it.
Did anybody say anything?
I have no idea. I couldn't hear.
Oh, man.
I just wanted it to look like I was there, so that when I'm done, I could actually join it.
Be sure of this, Josh. Your sins will find you out. So we should probably podcast earlier next time.
We have the time set.
So you're not. I know, but it's a plus or minus 45 minutes.
Yeah, I was particularly late today, and we snacked.
Well, and then I was talking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you're doing ministry work.
that's right. Are we clear?
Hold on.
It is. But sometimes.
Sorry,
Josh,
guys.